Drink it. The glass trembled slightly as it was placed on the table. Amara stared at it, her eyes wide, her breath uneven. The liquid inside was pale yellow, almost clear, giving nothing away. It looked harmless, too harmless. Mrs. Victoria Adeyemi sat across from her, calm and composed, her expensive perfume filling the air. The air conditioner hummed softly, cold and steady, but Amara felt sweat running down her spine. "You look tired," the billionaire woman said gently. "Pregnancy can be exhausting." Amara nodded slowly, one hand resting on her swollen belly. "Yes, madam." Mrs. Adeyemi smiled. It did not reach her eyes. "You are still young," she continued. "You have your whole life ahead of you. One mistake should not destroy it." Amara's heart skipped. "Mistake?" She glanced at the glass again. "What is this, madam?" she asked quietly. Mrs. Adeyemi leaned back and crossed her legs. "Medicine. Something to help your body reset." Amara felt her throat tighten. "Reset?" She swallowed hard. "Reset? What exactly, madam?" The billionaire's smile faded. "You know exactly what I mean," she said calmly. The room felt smaller, heavier. Amara's fingers dug into the fabric of her uniform. Her belly moved slightly. She felt it. Life. 3 small lives pressing gently against her from the inside. "No," she whispered. Mrs. Adeyemi sighed as though she was tired of explaining something obvious. She reached into her handbag and pulled out a thick brown envelope. It landed on the table with a dull thud. $10,000, she said. "Cash." Amara's eyes filled with tears instantly. "Madam, please." "Listen to me," Mrs. Adeyemi interrupted sharply. "This pregnancy must end." Quietly. The words sliced through Amara like a knife. She gasped, clutching her stomach protectively. "No," she cried softly. "You can't." "I can," the billionaire replied coldly. "And I will." Amara shook her head rapidly, tears spilling down her cheeks. "They are children. Your son's children." Mrs. Adeyemi's jaw tightened. "My son made a careless mistake," she said. "And mistakes are corrected." Amara's chest heaved. "You want me to kill my babies?" Mrs. Adeyemi's eyes hardened. "I want you to save everyone from shame." She pushed the envelope closer. "Drink the medicine tonight. You will feel pain. You will bleed. Tomorrow you will be free, and this money will help you disappear." Amara sobbed openly now. $10,000. Blood money. Her hands shook as she pushed the envelope back. "I will not do it," she said, her voice weak but firm. "I will not." Mrs. Adeyemi's expression changed instantly. "You think you have a choice?" she asked quietly. Amara lifted her chin, tears streaming. "Yes, I do." The billionaire stood up slowly. "You are a housemaid," she snapped. "You live under my roof. You eat my food." Amara stood too, holding her belly tightly. "But these children are mine." Mrs. Adeyemi leaned forward, her voice low and dangerous. "If you refuse this money," she said, "you will leave this house today. With nothing." Amara nodded, trembling. "I will leave." Mrs. Adeyemi stared at her in disbelief. "You would choose poverty over money." "I choose life," Amara whispered. Silence crashed into the room. Mrs. Adeyemi laughed slowly. "Then you are more foolish than I thought." She pointed toward the door. "Get out." Amara picked up her small bag, her legs shaking as she walked away. Each step felt like walking away from safety and into darkness. Just as she reached the door, Mrs. Adeyemi spoke again. "My son will never choose you," she said cruelly. "And when this pregnancy ruins you, remember you were warned." Amara picked up her small bag. Her legs shook as she walked toward the door. Each step felt like walking into darkness. As she reached the door, Mrs. Adeyemi spoke again, her voice low and cruel. "You think my son will stand by you?" she asked. "You think he will choose you over his family?" Amara paused. Her heart pounded. Behind her, the front door opened. Footsteps echoed into the room. A familiar voice spoke, shaking with anger. "Mother, what have you done?" Amara turned slowly. Mrs. Adeyemi froze. Standing at the doorway was Kunle Adeyemi, and beside him were 2 elderly men Amara recognized immediately, board members of the Adeyemi Empire. Her breath caught. She turned back, tears in her eyes. Kunle Adeyemi stood frozen at the doorway. For a moment, nobody spoke. The sound of the air conditioner filled the room, cold and steady, like it did not care that lives were about to change forever. Amara's heart pounded so loudly she felt it in her ears. Her hands tightened around the strap of her small bag. Her eyes searched Kunle's face, hoping to see something: fear, love, regret, anything. Mrs. Victoria Adeyemi was the first to recover. "What are you doing here?" she asked sharply, her voice firm but slightly shaken. Kunle stepped forward. His suit was neat, his hair perfectly combed, but his eyes were red, tired, angry. "I came home," he said slowly, "and I met my pregnant partner being thrown out like trash." The word partner hung in the air. Amara's breath caught, her chest rose and fell quickly. She had never heard him call her that before. Mrs. Adeyemi laughed, short and bitter. "Partner? Kunle, have you lost your mind?" She turned to the two elderly men behind him. "Gentlemen, please excuse this nonsense. This is a family issue." One of the men cleared his throat. "Madam, you invited us here yourself. You said it was urgent." Kunle clenched his jaw. "Yes," he said, "urgent. Because my mother thought she could erase my children with money." Amara felt tears sting her eyes at the word children. Mrs. Adeyemi's face hardened. "Lower your voice." "No," Kunle replied. "You have controlled my life long enough." He walked toward Amara and stopped beside her. The room felt smaller now, tighter. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. Amara nodded, but her lips trembled. "She wants me to leave." Kunle turned slowly to his mother. "You offered her $10,000, he said, "to disappear." Mrs. Adeyemi lifted her chin. "I offered her a solution. She is carrying triplets," Kunle said, his voice cracking. "My triplets." The board members exchanged glances. Mrs. Adeyemi snapped. "This is not a business meeting." "But it is," Kunle shot back. "You taught me that everything is business to you." Amara watched them, her heart torn in two. Part of her wanted to believe Kunle would stand up for her. Another part remembered all the times he had told her to wait, to be patient, to keep quiet. Mrs. Adeyemi walked closer to him. "Listen to yourself. Do you know what people will say? The heir of Adeyemi Group, pregnant a housemaid." Amara flinched. Kunle noticed. "That housemaid is a graduate," he said. "She worked here because she needed a job. She is not beneath us." Mrs. Adeyemi scoffed. "Love has made you foolish." "No," Kunle replied. "Power has made you cruel." Silence crashed into the room again. Amara felt dizzy. She placed a hand on her belly, breathing slowly. "Please," she whispered in her heart. "Stay calm for the babies." One of the board members, Chief Balogun, spoke gently. "Kunle, are you saying you want to acknowledge these children publicly?" Kunle did not hesitate. "Yes." Amara gasped softly. Mrs. Adeyemi turned sharply. "You will not." Kunle looked at her. "I will." Her voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "If you do this, you will lose everything." Kunle's eyes filled with pain. "If I don't, I will lose myself." Tears rolled down Amara's cheeks. She had never imagined this moment, standing in a billionaire's living room, fighting for her unborn children. Mrs. Adeyemi turned to Amara suddenly. "Look at him," she said coldly. "You think he is choosing you? He is making a mistake because of pity." "That is not true," Kunle snapped. But Amara felt doubt creep into her chest. She stepped forward slowly. "Kunle," she said softly, her voice shaking. "I don't want to destroy your life." Kunle turned to her immediately. "You are not destroying anything. You didn't plan this," she continued, tears streaming freely now. "I know your world. I know your mother. I know what this will cost you." Mrs. Adeyemi watched closely, waiting. Amara swallowed hard. "If you want me to leave, just say it." Kunle's chest rose sharply. "Don't say that. I need to hear it," Amara whispered. "Because I won't beg." Her words carried pain, pride, and fear all at once. Kunle reached for her hands. "I will not abandon you." Mrs. Adeyemi slammed her hand on the table. "Enough." She turned to the board members. "You see what I'm dealing with." Chief Balogun sighed. "Madam, this situation is serious. The media—" "There will be no media," she snapped. "Not if I can help it." Amara felt a chill. Mrs. Adeyemi walked closer to her, lowering her voice so only Amara could hear. "You think rejecting the money makes you strong," she whispered. You have no idea what you just started. Amara met her eyes, tears falling freely now. I only want my children to be safe. Mrs. Adeyemi smiled without warmth. Safety is not guaranteed in my world. Kunle stepped between them. Don't threaten her. I am not threatening, his mother replied calmly. I am warning. She turned away and faced the board members. Gentlemen, leave us. They hesitated. Kunle shook his head. No, stay. Mrs. Adeyemi's eyes flashed. This house is mine. Kunle took a deep breath. Then hear me clearly. Everyone looked at him. If Amara leaves this house, he said, I leave with her. The words landed like thunder. Amara's knees almost gave way. Mrs. Adeyemi staggered back slightly. You wouldn't dare. I would, Kunle said quietly. And I will. Tears streamed down Amara's face as she looked at him. Hope and fear twisted together inside her chest. Mrs. Adeyemi stared at her son, her face pale with shock and rage. You choose her, she whispered. Kunle nodded once. I choose my children. The billionaire woman's lips trembled. Then she laughed. A slow, chilling laugh. You think this is over, she said. You think walking away ends this? She turned toward the door and called out loudly. Bring the documents. Amara's heart dropped. Kunle frowned. What documents? Mrs. Adeyemi smiled darkly. The ones that prove this girl has been lying to you from the beginning. Amara froze. The room spun. What? What do you mean? Kunle asked. Mrs. Adeyemi turned slowly back to Amara, her eyes sharp and deadly. Ask her, she said. Ask her who she really is. Amara's breath caught in her throat, because whatever those documents were, they were about to change everything. Amara's world went quiet. Not silent quiet. The kind of quiet that presses on your chest and makes it hard to breathe. Ask her who she really is, Mrs. Victoria Adeyemi repeated, her voice calm, cruel and confident. Kunle turned slowly to Amara. His eyes searched her face, not with anger yet, but with confusion, with fear. Amara, he said softly, what is my mother talking about? Amara opened her mouth. No words came out. Her heart beat so fast it hurt. Her palms were cold. Her babies shifted inside her, restless, as if they felt the danger before she did. Mrs. Adeyemi snapped her fingers. Two men walked in. One was her personal lawyer, the other carried a thick brown file. The file hit the glass table with a loud thud. Amara flinched. Kunle stared at it. Mother, stop this. Mrs. Adeyemi ignored him. Open it. The lawyer obeyed. Pages spread out like weapons. Photos, documents, old letters. Mrs. Adeyemi smiled faintly. You see, Kunle, this girl did not enter my house by accident. Kunle's voice shook. What does that mean? Amara's knees weakened. She reached for the back of a chair and held on. I begged you to take the money and leave quietly, Mrs. Adeyemi said, looking directly at her. But you chose pride. Amara whispered, I chose my children. The billionaire laughed softly. You chose war. She turned to Kunle. Do you know her real name? Kunle looked back at Amara. Your name is Amara Okoye. Mrs. Adeyemi shook her head slowly. That is not the name she was born with. Kunle frowned. What? The lawyer spoke for the first time. Her birth name is Amara Adeyemi. The room exploded. Kunle staggered back. What did you just say? Amara squeezed her eyes shut. Tears poured freely now. Mrs. Adeyemi crossed her arms. Ask her. Kunle's voice broke. Amara Adeyemi. Amara nodded slowly. Yes. Kunle's face drained of color. That's my surname. Yes, she whispered, because it is also my father's. Silence crashed like thunder. Kunle's head shook slowly. No, that's impossible. Mrs. Adeyemi's voice turned sharp. Your late father had many secrets. Amara's chest heaved. I never planned to come back into this family. Kunle stared at her like he was seeing a ghost. What are you saying? Amara wiped her tears with trembling hands. My mother worked for your family years ago, she said softly. She was sent away when she got pregnant. Mrs. Adeyemi's jaw tightened. She died when I was 15, Amara continued. Before she died, she told me the truth. Kunle's lips parted, but no sound came out. I didn't believe her at first, Amara said. I didn't want to. But when I saw this house again, when I saw the photos, I knew. Mrs. Adeyemi stepped forward. You knew, yet you still slept with my son. Amara cried out. I did not know he was your son when we met. Kunle raised his head sharply. What? We met outside, Amara said, shaking. He didn't tell me his full name. I didn't know who he was. By the time I found out, I was already pregnant. Kunle's hands trembled. Triplets. Yes, Amara whispered. Your grandchildren. Mrs. Adeyemi let out a bitter laugh. Grandchildren born from shame. Kunle snapped. Enough. He turned to Amara, his eyes full of pain, confusion and fear. Why didn't you tell me? I wanted to, she sobbed. But your mother scares me. This family scares me. I only wanted to work quietly and leave. Mrs. Adeyemi smiled coldly. And instead, you crawled into my house. I came for answers, Amara said. And for safety. The lawyer cleared his throat. Madam, the documents confirm her identity. Kunle felt dizzy. He sat down heavily. This means, he whispered. This means my children are also blood, Mrs. Adeyemi finished. Which makes this situation even worse. Amara cried openly now. I never wanted to destroy you. Kunle looked up, his eyes red. You should have told me. Mrs. Adeyemi cut in sharply. She told you nothing because she planned this. That's not true, Amara shouted, her voice cracking. I wanted to leave. Mrs. Adeyemi turned to her. Then leave now. Amara froze. Kunle looked up. Mother. No, Mrs. Adeyemi said. This ends today. She pointed at the door. She leaves. The pregnancy will be handled privately. Amara screamed. You will not take my children. Kunle stood up fast. Nobody is taking anyone's children. Mrs. Adeyemi's voice dropped dangerously. Do not challenge me. Amara felt panic rise in her chest. She clutched her belly tightly. Suddenly, a sharp pain tore through her. She gasped. Ah! Kunle rushed to her. Amara? Another pain hit. She cried out louder this time. My stomach, she sobbed. Something is wrong. Mrs. Adeyemi stepped back, startled. The lawyer frowned. Madam? Amara doubled over, crying. Kunle held her. Stay with me. Please. Her dress darkened slightly. Blood. Kunle's heart stopped. Call a doctor. Mrs. Adeyemi stared, frozen. Amara looked up at her, tears streaming, voice breaking. If anything happens to my children, she whispered, God will judge you. Her legs gave way. Kunle caught her just before she hit the floor. Amara, he shouted. Mrs. Adeyemi's face turned pale. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. And in that moment, everyone knew. Whatever happened next would destroy this family forever. The hospital corridor smelled of antiseptic and fear. Kunle paced back and forth, his hands shaking, his suit stained at the cuffs. Every few seconds, he looked toward the double doors of the emergency room, as if staring hard enough could pull Amara back out. Inside those doors were his unborn children, triplets, and the woman he loved or thought he loved, now wrapped in pain, secrets and blood. Please let her be okay, he whispered, not caring who heard him. A nurse rushed past, another followed, voices overlapped, machines beeped. Kunle felt helpless. Across the corridor, Mrs. Victoria Adeyemi sat stiffly in a chair, her handbag clutched tightly in her lap. For the first time in years, she looked small. Not weak, never weak, but shaken. Her perfect world had cracked. The lawyer stood beside her, flipping through his phone nervously. Madam, the situation is delicate. If the press finds out, they won't, she snapped. Not yet. Kunle turned sharply. You're still thinking about reputation? Mrs. Adeyemi looked up at him slowly. I'm thinking about survival. Whose? Kunle asked. Yours or my children's? She flinched at the word children. Before she could reply, a doctor stepped out. Kunle rushed forward. Doctor! The man raised a hand. Please calm down. How is she? Kunle asked, his voice breaking. How are the babies? The doctor took a breath. She is stable for now, but the stress triggered early labor signs. We had to stop it. Kunle's heart dropped. Stop it? Yes, the doctor said gently, but this pregnancy is now high risk, very high risk. Mrs. Adeyemi stood up slowly. What does that mean? It means The doctor continued. She needs complete rest. No stress, no shouting, no fear. Kunle's eyes burned with anger. He turned to his mother. Did you hear that? Mrs. Adeyemi said nothing. The doctor said no stress. Kunle went on, his voice rising. And you almost killed her today. That is enough. Mrs. Adeyemi snapped. Watch how you speak to me. Kunle laughed bitterly. You paid her with blood instead of money. Silence followed. The doctor cleared his throat. Only one person can see her for now. I will, Kunle said immediately. The doctor nodded and walked away. Kunle hesitated for a second, then turned to his mother. Whatever you want to do next, wait until my children are safe. Mrs. Adeyemi looked at him, her eyes hard but troubled. You are asking me to lose control. No, Kunle said quietly. I am asking you to be human. He turned and followed the doctor. Amara lay on the hospital bed, pale and exhausted. Her eyes were half open. Tubes and wires surrounded her. The steady sound of a monitor filled the room. When she saw Kunle, tears slid silently down her cheeks. I'm sorry, she whispered. Kunle rushed to her side. Don't talk, please. I didn't want this, she said weakly. I didn't want to hurt anyone. Kunle held her hand carefully. You didn't. My mother did. Amara shook her head slightly. She is powerful. She will not stop. Kunle leaned closer. Then neither will I. She looked at him, fear and hope mixed together. Do you really mean that? He swallowed hard. I don't know how to fight her yet, but I know I won't let her crush you. A tear rolled down Amara's temple. Even if it costs you everything? Kunle hesitated. That pause hurt more than any slap. Before he could answer, the door opened. Mrs. Adeyemi stepped in. Kunle stiffened. You said one person. I am the grandmother, she replied coolly. Amara turned her face away. Mrs. Adeyemi walked closer, studying her like a problem that refused to go away. You are strong, she said finally. I will give you that. Amara did not respond. Mrs. Adeyemi sighed. This situation has gone too far. It is no longer about pride. Kunle snapped. Then what is it about? Damage control, she replied. Amara laughed weakly. My children are not damage. Mrs. Adeyemi's eyes flashed. They are leverage. Kunle stepped forward angrily. Don't you dare. Mrs. Adeyemi raised a hand. Listen to me carefully. If this story comes out, it will destroy this family. Shares will fall. Enemies will rise. So what? Kunle shouted. Let them fall. Mrs. Adeyemi stared at him in disbelief. You are willing to burn everything your father built? Kunle's voice broke. My father also abandoned a woman and a child. And look where that led us. The words landed hard. Mrs. Adeyemi turned sharply to Amara. You see what you have done? Amara met her gaze, weak but steady. I didn't create your family's sins. I was born into them. Silence. Mrs. Adeyemi exhaled slowly. Very well. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. Kunle's stomach tightened. What is that? A solution, she said. One that protects everyone. She placed it on the table near the bed. Amara looked at it fearfully. What kind of solution? Mrs. Adeyemi's voice was calm. Too calm. You will give birth abroad, she said. Quietly. The children will carry my name. Kunle will stay here, and this scandal will never see the light of day. Kunle exploded. You are insane. Amara's hands shook. You want to take my babies away? Mrs. Adeyemi looked straight at her. I want to save them from being born into disgrace. Amara screamed, weak but sharp. You will never take my children. The monitor beeped faster. The nurse rushed in. Please, she needs rest. Mrs. Adeyemi stepped back. Kunle leaned over Amara. I won't let her do this. I promise. Mrs. Adeyemi watched them, her eyes cold, calculating. She turned toward the door. As she left, she said quietly, You have 24 hours to decide. The door closed. Amara burst into tears. Kunle held her hand, his own tears falling freely now. Outside the room, Mrs. Adeyemi pulled out her phone. Prepare the press statement, she said calmly. And call immigration. Her face hardened. This ends tomorrow. The morning sun rose over Lagos, hot and bright, but inside the Adeyemi mansion, darkness lingered. Kunle sat in the living room, the papers from the previous night spread across the table. Amara, still weak from her hospital ordeal, sat beside him, her hand resting lightly on her belly. Triplets. Their future depended on them both. But outside, the world was about to collide with their fragile peace. Mrs. Victoria Adeyemi stood at the large bay window, her hands gripping the curtains, staring out at the city. Her perfectly controlled life, her empire, her reputation all threatened by a maid she once thought she could erase. Kunle's voice broke the silence. "Mother, we're done hiding." Mrs. Adeyemi turned slowly, her eyes sharp, calculating. "You can't possibly go public with this, Kunle. Do you know what it will cost?" "I know exactly what it will cost," Kunle said firmly. "But it's worth it. Amara is carrying my children. They are not mistakes, they are family. And you will respect that." Amara's chest tightened. She had waited for him to speak these words for months, through whispers in hallways, threats, and silence. Hearing them now, straight and fearless, gave her strength she didn't know she still had. Mrs. Adeyemi laughed softly, cold and cutting. "You think defying me is bravery? It's foolishness." Kunle stood up, towering over her. "No, Mother, it's the only way to be human. It's the only way to stop this madness." Outside, a black SUV pulled into the driveway. Photographers, the press, Mrs. Adeyemi's carefully built empire of silence was collapsing before her eyes. She had tried to control everything, but life had a way of slipping out of control. Amara looked at Kunle, panic and excitement mingling in her eyes. "Is it too late?" she whispered. "Never," Kunle replied. "Not for us. Not for our children." The doors opened and the world came rushing in. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Social media was already buzzing. Billionaire son impregnates Maid Adeyemi scandal. Mrs. Adeyemi's face twisted in fury. "Stop them," she screamed. But no one moved. Kunle had already stepped forward, holding Amara's hand tightly. "Let them see the truth," he said. "No more lies." Amara felt tears streaming down her face. She stood taller than she had in months, ignoring the fatigue that pressed on her body. She looked at the cameras and shouted, loud and clear, "I am Amara Okoye. I am carrying Kunle Adeyemi's children, and we will not hide." The reporters erupted. Questions came from every direction, but Kunle's hand never left hers. Mrs. Adeyemi staggered back, her carefully constructed world unraveling. She opened her mouth, tried to argue, tried to shame, but no words could stop the tide of truth now. Then, the unthinkable happened. Kunle stepped forward and embraced Amara. "These are our children," he shouted. "Our family. And no one, not even you, can take that from us." The mansion, once a symbol of power and control, now felt like a cage being broken open. Amara's heart pounded as she looked at Mrs. Adeyemi. "You tried to buy me. You tried to silence me. But we are stronger than money. Stronger than fear." Mrs. Adeyemi's lips trembled. For the first time, she looked vulnerable. The pride, the arrogance, the control all cracked. Kunle pulled out his phone and recorded a short video, addressing the press directly. "This is my family. My children will not be hidden. This ends today." Outside, the photographers captured every moment. The story spread across social media faster than anyone could imagine. Adeyemi scandal explodes, son protects maid, triplets confirmed. Amara felt a weight lift from her shoulders. For months, she had feared her life, feared her children would inherit shame instead of love. But now, the world was forced to see the truth. Kunle kissed her forehead, whispering, "We did it. You did it. No one can touch us now." Tears ran freely down her cheeks. "I was so scared," she admitted. "Me too," he said softly. "But we are together." Mrs. Adeyemi stood in the middle of the room, defeated, realizing she could no longer control the narrative. She had underestimated the strength of a mother. She had underestimated love. She had underestimated her son. Kunle took Amara's hand and led her toward the balcony. The city stretched below them, bright and alive, unaware of the storm that had just been faced and won. Amara's hand rested on her belly. She whispered softly, "We survived. They'll never take you away from me." Kunle smiled, brushing a tear from her cheek. "Never. Not your children, not us." For the first time in months, Amara felt peace. The fear was gone, replaced with hope, pride, and the certainty that, no matter what the world threw at them, they would survive. And in that moment, high above Lagos, surrounded by chaos and whispers of scandal, Amara realized something profound. She had not only fought for herself and her children, she had fought for justice, dignity, and love. And that love would never be silenced.